So there's bathrooms right through there. There's cookies over there and water. Our speaker will introduce herself in a moment, but first I would like to let one of the people at each of the tables come up and tell us just who they are so you know where you want to go to get information about their particular thing. And Olive Crest, yes, the speaker's from Olive Crest, but they should come up too. So Felicity, one of you should come up from each table, including Patrick. So just tell us who you are.
Well, thank you, everyone. Good afternoon. My name is Jonathan, and this is Jorge. We're here today actually with Tina, to talk to you about our new drop-in center in the city of Anaheim with Olive Crest. I know there's a presentation about to begin soon, but we have a lot of great information that we'd like to share with you all in the interest of, assisting youth in need guidance.
Hi, good evening, everyone. My name is Felicia Reavers, and I'm a social worker with the County of Orange with Child Protective Service. And I am part of the foster care recruitment and training program. So we go out into the community, and if we go to events and make ourselves known, and then once people are interested, they come to our orientation session, and there's 12 hours of pre-service training required. So some of the requirements to be a foster parent in Orange County is you have to, number one, live in the County of Orange. You have to at least be 18 years old or older. You have to have enough money to meet your basic needs, and you have to be willing to undergo a background check and a live scan process and our required trainings. And I'm sure there's something else I'm forgetting at this point, but if you want more information, please feel free to come back to the table and sign up for one of our orientations, which are held the first Wednesday of every month.
Hi, my name is Yvette. I'm a volunteer with the Orange County Human Trafficking Task Force. It's a multi-agency unit that works with law enforcement, district attorney, waymakers, social services, working with victims of human trafficking, educating the community about human trafficking. So we have a variety of ways we work with the youth, and we also have volunteers, so we have information back there as well about volunteering and just other information.
Thank you so much. So I'm Patrick Erlinson, and I was working 8 years with the Long Beach Human Trafficking Task Force, and after working with survivors and former traffickers and buyers, my conclusion was that if we got fatherhood right, we would eliminate both the supply and the demand sides of trafficking, at least make a serious dent in it. So we started FatherCon to start informing men and women about the significant role that the father plays in how children develop and how they also intersect with human trafficking, and then also to inspire them. I mean, our hope is really, we want to start to see a measure of success as a man to be connected to our having the heart of a father, whether you have biological children or whether you care about your community, but to cultivate that heart of a father as a solution to both the vulnerability and the sense of entitlement that's really fueling human trafficking. So I have a table right back there. We do a lot of different kinds of events and things.
And this is Tina from Olive Crest. She's going to be our speaker this evening. You can talk about taking questions.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you for those of you who are here in person. It's really helpful for me to see faces when I'm talking. And thank you for all of those that are online. There are people looking at Zoom, our teams or something. I'm going to share about foster care, child abuse, and the intersection with human trafficking. And this really, we're an intimate group here, so feel free if something I'm saying resonates or is confusing. I am open to questions throughout the presentation. I will also be here after to ask questions. Same with those of you online. If you really have a question that you might forget or you want to interject, I'm open to that so that we can really have a conversation and you leave with a greater understanding of what's happening here in our community. We really look at, when we're talking about human trafficking, our focus is really on the trafficking of children. And I should say, pause, who am I? If you didn't read the bio, I'm Tina Chang. I'm the Regional Programs Director for Olive Crest. I'm a licensed marriage and family therapist, and I've been working in this space for about 25 years. And my focus the entire time has been on strengthening families so that children have safe places to live and helping young people grow into independence so that they can become productive members of our community. And one of the things we're looking at is how children find themselves in a space of victimization and what that journey to eventual safety looks like for them. We need to really start with understanding how we define child abuse in the legal sense. And the definition of child abuse comes from the federal statute, and it's clear, but there's so much room for interpretation in there. And so we really look at any act or failure to act that could result in harm to a child is considered child abuse. So if we know that a child was hurt, the person who hurt the child is guilty of child abuse, potentially, and the person who failed to protect that child from abuse is also responsible. If conditions continue on that could eventually, imminently lead to serious harm to that child, that is also a potential form of child abuse that can be investigated. So we really have had, for pretty much as long as the United States has been a country, we've really been invested in protecting our children from abuse. This requires us to lay aside judgment, lay aside our cultural differences, and really take a look at what the needs of children are and if those needs are safely being met. So what happens? How does child abuse even get reported? How does this foster journey begin? Anybody can make a child abuse report. If there's some just thing that's not sitting right, like I see this child every day and I don't know what's going on, I'm concerned. The reports can be made anonymously, and you don't even have to have all the information. You don't have to have all the details. That's social services and law enforcement's job to figure all of that out. We just all need to step forward and say, I'm worried. We would rather be worried unnecessarily than just brush something off and have something later down the road say, oh my gosh, I knew that, I should have said something. And when we look at the history of children that we serve, we see many times in their life when someone could have stepped in but didn't want to get involved, or thought that someone would be mad or people would find out. We would rather know than not know. California, and actually the country, is really moving to a place where if that call is made, this is not a call to get someone in trouble. This is not a call to come out and say, you are a bad parent and you're doing bad things to your child. This call is intended to be supportive. So how do we as a community come along and say, we're really worried about you as a family. We know you love your child, but your child's not doing well. You must need help. What can we do to help you? That's the intent behind making child abuse reports. It's not to get anybody in trouble. It's to keep our children safe and to strengthen the parents who are in their lives and who do love them. So when a child abuse report is made, it can go to any one of those phone numbers. It can be made anonymously. The majority of child abuse reports are made by those of us who are legally required to make them. So teachers, medical professionals, social workers, therapists, anyone who has a career where they have children in their care, we're legally mandated to make these reports, but we're not the only ones who can make them. Anybody can make them. What happens when a child abuse report is made? Well, a few things can happen. When the call goes into the child abuse hotline or child abuse registry, they have to make some decisions about how to respond. Really urgent things, they call that immediate response. And they're going to go out right away and figure out what's going on. Sometimes they're going to just refer it to law enforcement. They're going to say, oh, this is something serious, law enforcement actually needs to intervene. And sometimes they will say, well, like maybe it's a case where a child hasn't been going to school in a month or comes to school infrequently, and every time they come to school, they're hungry and they don't have clean clothes. So we're worried that something's going on in their family, but they're not in imminent danger of serious harm today. Those would be what they call a 10-day response. But every call, there will be made decision tree about how that will be responded to. They also keep an extensive log. So one of the things that will happen if one of you were to make a call, they're going to look up in that system and see, do we already know that this family is struggling? Have other people made calls? Have we gotten other reports that this family needs help? And that helps to us inform decisions about how we intervene with those families. Most people worry that if you make that phone call, someone's children are going to be taken away. And I'm here to say, from my very dear friends at Social Service, they do not want to take your children. They don't. They want you to keep your children, and we want you to succeed in caring for those children. We know that children belong with their families, and we want families to be safe and strong so that they can stay together. So always the first response from Social Service and law enforcement when they're doing these investigations is there anything we can do to help strengthen this family so the kids can remain here safely? That's always the first choice. Even if they make the decision that the children do need to be taken out of their parents' home first for safety reasons, the first choice will always be to place that child with a family member or someone that they know really well. The very last resort will be to take and put that child in a shelter care or with a stranger. We know that children need to be someplace where they feel safe, where they recognize their surroundings, where people know them. We know that. Social Service knows that. That's our goal. But the reality is sometimes that's not possible. And children do end up being removed from their families. And once a child is removed, getting them back home is hard. There's so many barriers. When a child has been living in a home with abuse or neglect, and you have to think about the types of abuse and neglect we're talking about. A parent who's struggling with their own mental health issues, for example. If a parent is struggling with depression and they're asleep all the time and they can't go to work and the bills don't get paid and there's no food in the refrigerator and they don't tell their child to take a bath or brush their teeth, we can see this downhill slide for this child and this family. And we can start to think about, if you grew up in a house like that, how would you feel about yourself in the world? We have children who are in homes where the parents are struggling with substance use, and the children's needs are neglected because of the addictions of their parents, or there's violence between the parents. There's tensions with financial strain, marriage strain, relationship strain. There ends up being tension, and there can be violence in the home. So if you think about the circumstances that our children are living in, and they've already been experiencing that on a daily basis, to the point where it got serious enough for them to have to be removed from their parents, we've got all of that trauma, and now we have the trauma of removal. So even though we may feel like, oh my gosh, we just rescued this child who's been living in this toxic household, they're going to be so thankful to us. What you know is better than what you don't know. Those were your parents, and they weren't perfect, but they were your parents. It was your mom or your dad or your grandma or your auntie, but you knew them. Now you've been taken away to someplace completely scary and foreign. So our young people internalize in many different ways, but kind of these two core beliefs. Either the world is an unsafe place, this place is scary, bad things happen, I get taken away, We have children whose parents have been killed or who've died. They wake up one day and they have no parents, and now they're put into the foster care system. They believe the world is an unsafe place. Everywhere they look, they're looking for signs of danger because they've internalized this belief. A lot of our young people internalize the belief that they are unlovable. If my mom loved me, she wouldn't do drugs. And we know that's 100% not true. Addiction is a much bigger illness and issue than that, but not to a child. To a child, it's all about whether or not they're lovable enough. If my dad loved me, he and my mom would have stayed together. He wouldn't have left me. I must not be very lovable. Dads are supposed to love their children, and he didn't love me. He left. I must be a pretty unlovable human being. And we see this play out over and over again in the children that we care for. These ideas that they just don't deserve to be protected and loved because they haven't been. If the two people put on this planet who created you can't protect and love you, nobody can. And that begins their journey into foster care. When you come into foster care with these beliefs about yourself and the world, you are in a space where victimization is very easy to happen. Our exploiters are masters at recognizing the needs of our young people. We have exploiters who say, your parents didn't love you very much, did they? You wouldn't have ended up in foster care if someone had really loved you. But guess what? I love you. You're not that great, but I'll overlook all of that and I'll love you anyway. Nobody else will, just me. Our young people hear this message from exploiters all the time. I am the only person who will ever care about you. Don't leave me. And they don't. They stay with them because they're so desperate to be loved. The other message our young people said is, you have no roof, you have no shelter, you have no food, I'll provide for you. And if you come from a home where your parents weren't able to meet all your needs and they didn't prioritize feeding you and they maybe spent their money on things like drugs and didn't spend their money on taking care of you, it's easy to believe that lie, that only your exploiter will feed you, house you, give you new clothes, give you the things you crave as a child. The exploiters also, we live here in Orange County. This is an affluent place. Our young people, they look at Instagram, they look at TV, they see famous people, and they want what all those people have. Our exploiters tell them, you'll never get any of that. You're not smart enough, you're not pretty enough, you're not handsome enough, you're never going to have those things unless I give them to you. So do what I say and I'll get you those things. We can have exploiters go to our shopping centers and they can pick out the youth that are vulnerable to this line of lies that they can sell. So they tell our young people, come to me, I'll help you, I'll get you all of those nice things. Well, guess what? You accept a gift from an exploiter and you owe them. And our foster youth fall into that trap all the time. We've had foster youth who are looking for love. They need someone to love them. Their parents aren't there. They crave that attention. People will say, oh, those kids are seeking attention, as though that's something wrong. But isn't seeking attention a beautiful thing? Don't we all need some attention? Some people need more attention than others. Some people need really a lot of attention. And our kids who've had none, they crave it. So our exploiters tell them, I'll pay attention to you. I'll love you. Send me a picture. Send me another picture. Here's one of me. Take off your top. Take off something. Now you've sent pictures back and forth. Our youth fall into that trap. Now those pictures are sold on the internet. A video is sold on the internet. They might be told that they were going to be a model, that they can help them get a modeling career or an acting job. We live in Southern California. It's a plausible story to tell a young person, oh, I can help launch your career. Just go along with what I say. We've heard enough stories of that happening in Hollywood and those industries. We know it's true, and our foster youth believe this. So what do we actually consider commercial sexual exploitation of children? This is for anyone under the age of 18, and they have to have exchanged something sexual in exchange for some form of compensation. So we say it does start with pictures, video. It's not always being sold for sex, though it very often ends up that way. But it starts out a little bit more mainstream or innocent. The young people do not typically realize that they are victims of exploitation because they don't know in the beginning that anybody's profiting off of what happens to them. So they don't know that that picture that they sent to this person who they thought loved them ended up being sold on the internet for money, which makes it a commercial exploitation. They don't know that that happened. An exploiter will take young people to a party. Oh, we just went to a party and everybody had a great time. However, our young people were assaulted and were nude and were photographed and were videoed, and someone made money off of that, and they don't know. So when we ask them, has anything happened? Are you a victim of exploitation? They deny it. They say, no, I went to a party with my boyfriend because he loves me. They're so young. They're so susceptible to the lies. These are some other myths we really like to clear up when we're talking about child exploitation. And the reality is that many of the youth who are recovered in maybe a law enforcement sting, or they're found on the internet to have been exploited, they have had some touch with the foster care system. So they have had either been in foster care or had an open case at some point in their life. We usually find that there have been allegations maybe of child sexual abuse, and that it kind of snowballed to a place where they ended up being at risk for exploitation. The other thing we find is that most of the youth are born right here. One of the myths we hear sometimes is that trafficking is an international problem, or that we have foreign nationals who come to our country. Overwhelmingly, the youth that are being recovered in exploitation, in activities where we uncover exploitation, are our children. They were born here. They're Orange County residents. We do find in Orange County that that 60% of the youth who are exploited are Latino, and in LA County about 58% of the youth are Black. So this is predominantly impacting youth of color, and we look at that as mirroring what happens in our foster care system. Foster care system disproportionately impacts families of color. So as a community, we need to look at that and say, how are we strengthening all of the families in our community? Are we recognizing that everyone needs help at some time? And can we come alongside anybody who's in need to help protect the children in our community? Traffickers are really good at recognizing a vulnerable youth. They're masters at it. Comments, questions, thoughts so far? When a young person is taken away from their parents, I mean, all of you can, well, most of you, I would guess, if you had been taken away from your parent as a child, you would have felt lost, confused. We don't have the brain to even understand how something like that happens. Even if our parent is terrible, we've been with them all our lives, we expect that we will stay there. And when you're taken away, your whole sense of how the world is supposed to work gets rocked. Then, oops, there goes an earring. Didn't need that. Then someone, usually social services, makes a decision for you about where you're going to go live. I mean, they're great, but a lot of times they cannot ask a child and say, well, I'm taking you away from your parents, where would you like to go live? And the youth goes, I hate you, send me home. They don't say, oh, well, I guess if I can't live there, take me, they don't. And then they show up maybe at grandma's house or auntie's house or uncle's house and say, hey, we just took this kid away from your sister. Do you want it? And they're like, does that come with strings attached? Does that mean social services is going to investigate my life and do the background check and find out if my house is clean enough? And they're scared. They don't feel safe to take these children in sometimes. So now the children has been removed from their parents. Their family won't take them in because sometimes they think, well, if I take, Maggie's daughter in, I'm going to have to deal with Maggie's craziness, and we know Maggie's just been a problem her whole life. I don't want anything to do with it. And now this child is rejected by their own family for so many reasons. We know families are messy. So social services is required to make a decision about where this child's going to live. The child doesn't usually get a lot of say in that. But our young people, they tell us how they feel with their feet, and they run away. They run away all the time. They tell us, not in words, but in their actions, that they are not happy. They don't like the decisions that have been made. They don't understand it. They don't agree with it. And they won't stay where we put them. They think, because teenagers especially, don't teenagers always think they know better than everybody else? We don't realize we're not that smart until we're in our late 20s. We look back and go, oh, wasn't that smart. Teenagers believe they know everything, and they believe they know what's best for them. I'm going to run away. I'm going to go find someone who loves me, and I'm not paying attention to anything all of you people say. I'm a teenager. I know what's best. And the exploiters are preying on that. They know all of this. They know how to say the things. They know how to reel those young people in and get them trapped. And we try to offer them really great options, but can we tell them, we love you, we're going to buy you a Louis Vuitton purse, and you're going to have a great life and become a model? We don't tell them lies, so they don't want to stay with us because they're hearing all these other great lies from their exploiters. A lot of times we find young people in stings or in internet, or they're picked up someplace where they're not supposed to be, and we rescue them. We bring them into care. And sometimes we even put them in juvenile hall for their own safety, or in a psychiatric hospital for their own safety. The minute the door is unlocked, they run, because nobody wants to be treated that way. So, what should we do about this? Do you feel motivated that you need to do something about this? Because you can't just hear all these awful stories and not want to do something. Everybody can do something. We all can do something. We just have to figure out what our something is. One of the things that we are doing here in Orange County is, well, in San Diego County and LA County as well, we've created drop-in centers where young people can come in of their own free will. Research is showing, and we're doing a lot of research on this up and down the state of California, that when a young person feels like that someone listened to them, someone asked their opinion, someone made an effort to include their thoughts and ideas in a decision, the youth buy into that, and they're much more likely to choose safety when they believe that they've had some choice. So our drop-in centers are really about helping youth to have some choice in their life. Do you want to come in? Great. You don't want to come in? Okay. You want to come back? Great. You don't want to come back? We understand that too. It's allowing youth to have a little bit of say. And hopefully, the more times they come in to contact with caring people, we're able to sort of erode some of those myths that the exploiter has told them. The exploiter has told them that no one likes them. Well, we like you. We think you're pretty cool. We have opportunities to do art and learn activities and do resumes and makeup and nails and whatever they want to do. And those are things where we get to build back their self-esteem. Tell them, you're going to have a great career. You're super smart. You're a really awesome young person. And those are the little things that we can do to erode the myths that they believe about themselves, that they are unlovable and the world is unsafe. Well, the drop-in center is safe. It's a little safe spot in the world, so maybe the whole world isn't unsafe. You've seen some unsafe things, that's true, but it's not the whole world. And you've been told that you're unlovable, but we think you're amazing. And here's evidence of how amazing you are. And let's tell you that over and over again so that one day that you can combat the lies that you've been told. It takes a long time. Our drop-in centers are in areas where we know exploitation happens, and we know that youth can have easy access to them. We really prioritize, and you got a chance to meet Jonathan and Jorge. They're an example of staff that have the ability to connect with young people and help them feel seen, heard, valued. They're very relatable, and we're very intentional. We also choose to have both male and female staff because we know that young people need to have reparative relationships with men in their lives. They need to know that not all men are here to exploit you and take advantage of you. And if there's a boy who's at risk for exploitation, that happens too. And you're welcome. You're welcome in our space. They can come there and meet their basic needs. We feed them, we let them charge their phones, we play video games and watch TV and take naps. We have hygiene, brush your teeth, clean up, change of clothes if you need to. This is really all about combating the lies that are being told to them by their exploiter. So if they've been told, I'm the only person who will feed you because no one cares about you, but they can come to a place like the drop-in center and we feed you too, and we didn't ask for anything in return, we're combating the lies. Call to action. These things are not funded by the government, believe it or not. I mean, we got a startup grant to start some of them, but ongoing they're not funded. We believe they're necessary. We believe they are a strategy to help youth feel valued, and so we're committed alongside with our community to find ways to keep places like this open so youth have a safe place to go. So you can help drop-in centers by providing basic needs to vulnerable youth. We give every youth a toothbrush, but we got to find toothbrushes. We have to have clean clothes. We give them new socks, new slides, anything. We go through tons of art supplies. Young people love to express themselves through art. This is never really a conversation, unless they bring it up, about their victimization. This is a conversation about who they will be when they succeed in life. And so we are always fueling their dreams so that we can help them believe that they have value and they're going to be contributing members of our society. So our drop-in centers always need support. We feed them a lot of hot Cheetos and top ramen. I know it's not healthy, but it brings them in and keeps them coming back. We also need to provide emergency placements. So this was probably a year ago now. In one of our Southern California counties, there was a sting, a law enforcement sting. They went to motels, they raided the motels, and they found 8 victims under the age of 18 who were being exploited in these motels. They took the victims to a holding center. And this was about 3 o'clock in the morning. And staff were supposed to come there at 8 o'clock in the morning and kind of do interviews and figure out what's going on and figure out where they should go. And by 8 o'clock in the morning, all 8 of them had run away again. We have no power to hold them against their will, which is a shock to a lot of people. Like, what do you mean you'll let 8 children run away? We can't hold people against their will. It's against the law. If they want to go, they go. There's nothing we can do about it. So how do we stop them from going? We have to have something to offer them. We have to combat the lies that they've been told, and they have to believe that we can provide something safer than what's out there for them. So emergency placements. If a youth tells us, I'm tired of being on the streets, I'm tired of being in and out of motel after motel or car after car, what can you offer me? We have to have something to offer our young people. Something that's at least sort of on par with what they're being offered by their exploiter. Can we offer safety? Can we offer a clean bed where you get to pick your own pillows and sheets and comforter and what you have for breakfast? Can we offer that? As a community, we need to do that. People get scared of that. Like, I don't want one of those kids in my house. Why not? They're just a child. They are children. I don't think I've mentioned this, but you might have heard in the other series, most of our victims are between the ages of 14 and 17, but the victimization happens very often starting as early as 11. We see the age get younger and younger, and they're still just children. You know, a 14-year-old, a 15-year-old in a motel being exploited hour after hour after hour. Our kids, right? We need to have emergency placements for them. Someone who's willing to take them for a week or two while we figure things out, while we find out where mom is, while we find out where grandma or grandpa are. We need someone who will take them for a little while and just keep them safe while we figure things out. They might run away. That's okay, they do that. But at least we had something to offer them. We need longer-term homes. Some of our youth, we really just cannot find any family member who's able to take them. We have young people whose families have died. We have young people whose family members have died at the hands of other family members. Add that level of trauma. These young people need a place to live where they can heal from all of the hurt that's happened to them. And our community has a hard time stepping up for young people. They have a hard time stepping up for teenagers. Most people think teenagers are awful, but we were all teenagers once and we turned out okay. We have to believe in them. They're going to turn out okay too. But that forgiveness that your family offered you, that guidance, that understanding, kind of letting that leash out so you could mess up a little bit and then bringing you back and keeping you safe again, they need people in their lives who can do that for them. And it's hard. Oh, look, I talked too fast. There we go. Okay. Ask me questions because we have a few more minutes. Yes. Legally, okay, so the question was, can a drop-in center be an emergency placement? And unfortunately, when you're working with children, there are a lot of laws you have to abide by. Rightly so, it's here to protect our children. One of the laws is that a child can't stay in a place for more than 23 hours and 59 minutes unless that place is licensed to be a placement. So our drop-in centers are intentionally not licensed placements. They are just for dropping in. If they come to a drop-in center and they have no place to go, we don't close until they do. We do have some options. There is the youth shelters. Waymakers, I'm pointing to Lynn because she's from Waymakers, operates the youth shelter, so we can partner with a youth shelter. We partner with social services. We also assign a team to work with that young person and help explore family options. Who did you run from? Who do you normally run to? How can we help strengthen that location, those people, so that you can be safely with them? Because again, we don't want to remove children if we don't have to. We would much rather find a way for them to stay at home with someone who loves and knows them. And those families aren't always perfect. I mean, I'm pretty sure none of us have perfect houses and perfect families, but how can we be good enough? And sometimes it just takes the community coming alongside and supporting for someone to be good enough. Yes. Oh, so the question is, how good of a job do we do keeping track of children who run away? Terrible. We do a terrible job of that. And there's a lot of reasons. Sometimes, a child runs away from mom's house and lives with dad. Well, the custody order says that mom's supposed to have custody, but the child rather live with dad and they run away. Dad hides that because he knows it's a violation. So is that child missing? Well, sort of. A lot of times when children run, people make guesses. Oh, we're pretty sure they went back with mom. We took them away from mom because mom wasn't safe, and we put them in a foster home. They ran away from the foster home, and we're pretty sure they're back with mom. We don't know that for a fact. Because we go to mom's house and we ask, and we say, did your daughter come home? And she's like, no, I am in compliance with the court. I have not seen my daughter. So is the daughter at home with mom or under the control of an exploiter? We don't know. Across the entire state of California, we cannot get accurate count of how many children are missing from care. And there's actually a lot of legislative focus on this, especially for our indigenous population. So our native population and people of color, we can't keep track. They go missing, and we don't know if we should look. People file a missing persons report. You can imagine how much work our law enforcement teams have. And they go out and look for every child. And then Olive Crest operates residential treatment centers, and we have children placed in our care by social services, and they run away. And we call and we make a missing persons report to the law enforcement, and law enforcement goes, thanks for the piece of paper. They care, but they don't have the resources to go searching for these children. So the truth is we don't have a good way of knowing. And we need to be better at it because it matters. And the older they get, the less urgent. The protocol for searching for an 11-year-old compared to a 13-year-old is completely different. If we have an 11-year-old who goes missing from care, they'll bring out helicopters, they'll bring out dogs, they'll bring out all the cars. If we have a 13-year-old who goes missing, they go, troubled kid. Not because they don't care, but because they don't have the resources. Upset now, right? That's upsetting stuff. Yes. We work with our Faith in Motion partners to do all of that. So we have a strategy you're connected with. I'm sorry, to repeat the question, how does someone actually get involved in help? That's exactly why we're doing this series, because we really wanted to reinvigorate the faith in the faith. Have I the right name? Yes, Faith in Motion. Get people the information again, kind of remind people what the need is, and then put some strategies in front of people to be able to support, because we know our community is better when all the children in it are healthy. Went to the drive-thru at Pollo Loco not that long ago and drove up, and the person at the window was one of my kids who's been through my program. He's serving us food. I did pretended like I didn't know who he was. I was, cool. But they are literally in our community. One of the young people who went through our program was a driving instructor for one of my kids when they did their driving instructing. So we need to strengthen our community, and we can partner with the leadership here in your church to find those strategies. You can also contact social services, Olive Crest, Waymakers. We will all work together to rally us to support these children and their families. Other questions? Yes. Go ahead. California has done an okay job of this. They have passed legislation that makes the exploitation of someone 15 and younger a felony strike. You want me to answer? You want to answer me? Because I might say it wrong. She's our legal expert.
No, I'm not. But that's a great question. I think, so 3 years ago, under California law, criminal law, crimes are usually classified as either a serious crime, a violent crime, or everything else considered non-serious and non-violent. Most crimes in California are considered non-serious and non-violent. The crimes that are considered violent or serious are under California's three strikes law. About 3 years ago, as this knowledge and education about human trafficking was emerging, Senator Shannon Grove, as she was learning about this, the question she asked was, how come the human trafficking, sex trafficking of a minor is not classified as a serious or violent crime? It seemed really absurd, right? It should be obviously common sense. It should be. And so she tried to introduce legislation, say, hey, let's make this because then people will take it seriously as an act of deterrence. And we all thought this was common sense. We're not even bringing in adults to this yet. We're only talking about children and minors. unfortunately, our legislators killed the bill. So for both the classification of both a serious crime and the violent crime, so she tried to reintroduce it again. So her original intention was that if you are a victim as an adult and a minor, to get both. When that was killed, then she reintroduced it again and said, okay, let's not make it both serious and violent. Let's only make this serious and remove the adults out of this, and let's make it about kids, and they killed the bill again. They did not want to add more prison time, extra time to this. So I think it shocked everyone that this was the message that was being sent when it came to sex trafficking of children. Unfortunately, it got picked up enough towards the very end of it that there was a big backlash and community backlash because, again, like we weren't expecting this out of our California legislators, that they would not deny this. Eventually, the governor stepped in. Typically, the governor doesn't step in when it comes to legislation, but he did, and they eventually it did get passed. So that was really eye-opening for a lot of us doing the work because part of it is that adults are victims too, but if you can't take the children seriously, we can't even address the adults. So that was part of it. After that, then Senator Grove, her first thing was we have to go after the traffickers who are selling the children and making money from the children. After that, she was saying, well, this is a business. There is no selling if there is no buying. So the year after that, she introduced legislation saying, hey, if you try to buy, then now this can be a felony. Because prior to this, buying children for sex was a misdemeanor because it was seen as prostitution. So if you're a child prostitute or not, it is not considered, people didn't see that as a victim. And when she tried to introduce that, guess what California legislators did? They tried to kill the bill again too. And so then we had to, additional backlash, eventually it got passed. But one of the things they removed in the first time they did this was that, like what Tina said, if the buyer is trying to buy a victim who is 15 years old or younger, then they will get the felony. But if it's 16 and 17, it stays as a misdemeanor. Yeah. They also removed other things that are required to register as a sex offender. They also try to remove that too. So they really watered it down. So right now, we are the third year into this argument. She is trying to reintroduce back in 16 and 17-year-old because if you're under 18, you're a minor by law legally. To remove that, that sends a big message to pedophiles too, that that's okay. So right now, it's a going back and forth between the legislators right now, is that when they try to reintroduce 16, 17 back into the bill again, it's been pushed back, then we got the backlash, and they're reintroducing it back in. But so right now, we're okay with 16 and 17-year-olds are back in if the buyer is going after the 16, 17-year-old, but the amendment that they're trying to make to get it passed all the way through both the Assembly and the Senate is that if the age difference is 3 years older, then it stays as a misdemeanor. So that's how they negotiate to pass the bill. So that's, we've done a lot of great work here in California with Olive Crest, Waymakers, the task force, but our problem continues to be the education or lack of education when it comes to our elected officials up in Sacramento who are making these laws that impact the work that we do and impact crime and victims. So that kind of gives you an idea of what it's been like for the past 4 to 5 years fighting this issue here just in this state. Does that answer your question, sir? So prior to human trafficking a minor being a serious crime, so I don't know if you know that much about, I learned this as I started doing this work, is that for non-serious and non-violent crimes, you are serving 50% time or less. So when you hear in the news like, oh, they got 20 years time, they're not serving 20 years time. Most of them are serving 10 years and they're eligible for probation and things like that. So, but if the crime is classified as serious or violent, you're serving 80% of your time. So prior to the reclassification of the law for human trafficking a minor, the minimum, I believe, if you get convicted, is 5 years. It goes up to life. It goes up to life if you prove force on the child. But if you're asking, at least for a case with a minor victim, what amount of time they're getting, it's not double digits. Unfortunately, we had lots of cases where you're looking at the minimum, which is about 5 years. Yeah. So the extra element of force and proof and all that stuff, you need a lot more. So for us doing this work, we're seeing this stuff. It was very frustrating for us because we saw a lot of cases with minor victims, and not only are they getting 5 years, they're doing half of those 5 years, and they're back out there and they're reoffending again. That's why we wanted to change the law, but we didn't realize how much of a struggle it was to change the law here in California.
One of the things that human trafficking is a business. You can sell a bag of drugs one time, and then you use it all up and those drugs are gone. You can sell a child or another human being over and over and over again. And we hear all different dollar amounts, but $3 billion sticks in my mind as the revenue generated by trafficking. So how do you combat a business of that size? They have power to influence our legislature because they have money. Business. Yes. So the question is, how can we support those people who are brave enough to become foster parents? And that's a great question. One of the things they appreciate is meals, help with transportation, trying to get our kids to, you need soccer practice and band practice, and someone's got to work late and someone needs to pick the kids up from school. We have a model called Care Communities where if there's a foster family in your congregation, then we help you set up what we call a care community to wrap around that family. And sometimes it's even somebody who will step up and babysit so that mom and dad can go on a date night. And another thing, oftentimes the children who are in foster care do have visits with someone in their family. So we need visitation monitors, someone who will take the kid and let them visit and just kind of sit at the park or McDonald's while they have a happy meal with their mom and then drive them back to their foster home. So there are lots of ways to support, because that's hard on foster parents to always be doing all of the driving around and then they never get a break to take care of themselves. So those are the things our foster parents ask for is first and foremost, help with transportation, help with visitation. But just having that care community in your church, in your congregation is very helpful. And like I said, we have a model and we have training that go along with it so everyone feels equipped and competent to do that. That's a great question. Yes. Our drop-in center in Orange County is on Euclid and Ball. And it's there because street trafficking in Orange County typically happens on Beach Boulevard. And a lot of the motel trafficking happens on Harbor Boulevard near the convention center and on the motels around that area. So we wanted our center to be close to those areas. And the children's holding facility is near the block, the outlets mall there. And so this is also accessible to children who run away from the children's holding facility there. I don't know, the fire marshal never said, oh, we want to know how many kids can come to a drop-in center. I don't know. Jonathan, how many do you want in there? 20? 30? As many as we can get, yes. It's open, but we never have. I think the most we've had at one time is 6 or 8. Yeah, but we could do 20. Yeah. Any other questions? Yes. It's a huge battle, yes. So the question is, how do we combat some of the things that are just, the world is changing so fast. young people are using technology that we never could have imagined. I made a joke the other day that all of us are going to have our LinkedIn picture pasted on some, obscene photo through AI, and it's going to be all over the internet. There's nothing we can do. It's so powerful. We really are also, in our communities, focusing on prevention and education. So this particular presentation is really about when we're too far gone and we need help. But please know, we are actively working. We do a huge event. Lynn is the champion of the huge event we do every January, where we provide education to over 500 children, middle school children, about what human trafficking looks like. The Vanguard University has a group of young people who go out to classrooms. I think they've done 1,100 presentations so far to go to classrooms. We also offer Goya Foods has a Goya Cares initiative. They have a human trafficking video. We show that to all of the parents who come to our teen parenting courses. So there's a lot of effort in our community to raise awareness in young people. We pair a lot of this with cyber safety education because we want parents to know how to support their young people who are accessing the internet. So it's a multi-pronged approach to preventing youth and preventing young men from becoming purchasers or exploiters. We really want all of our children to be safe and healthy. But at the same time, we have a serious problem, and we've got to help those who are being victimized right now. We've got to do both. Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you all so much for being here. Thank you for those great questions. Please don't leave without stopping by and visiting our booths if you haven't yet. All the presenters, they have some handouts. If you're having thoughts that are stirring around, you can figure out how to get back in touch with someone, and we will rally.
Yeah. Thank you very much. Thank you. Please don't go away, like she said. Thank you very much